Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence and the Confident You radio show. Today, we're going to talk about mastering personal finances. And I have someone here who is ready to share how she teaches women financial education classes and presents financial wellness and workshops to groups. I guess it's not just women across the U.S. She holds a master's in education from Harvard Graduate School and an accredited financial counselor. It is Debra Jacobs, who I'm welcoming today. And I'm so pleased and grateful that she has taken the time to join us because it is very important to find out how we can bring and rein in our finances. And as the founder of Money Smart for Life, she can help guide us and again, help us overcome the shame and fear and overwhelm that goes along with the money that, oh, and by the way, it's money is part of life. So welcome. I am so happy that you're here, Deborah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here and I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, I am excited too. I have to tell you, money is one of these things that continues to be that thing that I need to get better at. I have so many old stories and of course picked up habits from family members, non-family members that don't serve me. And I know that as I get older, right, the question of money and having the right amount of money and to feel secure and to have a lifestyle that I have now and to continue always weighs on me. Am I the only one?
You are so far from being the only one. I
Thank you. I
mean,
needed to hear that. I needed to hear
yeah,
that.
it's just so common. Listen, we are not taught how to manage money in school.
Mhm.
That's changing a little bit.
I hope
More
so. I
schools,
hope so.
yeah, more
Yeah.
schools are implementing classes. Very few are implementing it as a requirement. Often it's
Of course. Yeah.
an elective that you can take in high school.
Mhm.
Almost no colleges teach personal
Mm,
finance. I mean, if you're an econ major or
right.
an accounting major, you're going to learn some practices. But other
Mhm.
than that, we
Yeah.
just don't learn it. Our parents don't teach us.
Mhm.
In America, anyway, I'm sure you have listeners from all over the world, but in America, we're a very individualistic country
Mhm.
with a cultural history of money is private. It's not something we talk about. Parents usually don't even talk with their children about
Mhm.
money. So we become adults and we're supposed to know how to do this.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're, sprung from the head of Zeus, as if
Yeah.
we're supposed to know this.
Yeah.
And some of us are sort of those born organized, interested in learning how to
Mhm.
do this from early on. And most of us are not. So we struggle.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, you know, often people just need some help. I like to say that when I was younger and was a mess with my money, I would have loved to have somebody like me now to just, show me a few simple steps to take
Mhm.
to get on a better path.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that in looking at my history, both my parents were not very good in one way or another, and really, we didn't talk about it other than, especially growing up in a household of a single mom.
Mhm.
What was talked about is when we didn't have it,
Yep.
when it became, and again, I've shared a little bit of this in the podcast. My mom, again, highly educated and hard
Mhm.
worker, but she was underpaid, underemployed.
Yep. I know.
And a lot of times there was more month than money. And it wasn't uncommon that I would come home and maybe the electricity was off or the phone was off. And this is not when we had cell phones. I would go
Yeah.
to the payphone down the street to call her
Yeah.
at home at work and say, "Oh, we have no phone."
Yeah. Again, that's a very common story for women, particularly for women who maybe enter a marriage or a partnership expecting
Mhm.
that they're going to be taken care of. this is generational. This is also changing, but for older women,
Right.
those cultural expectations are very hard to buck. So, you know, a lot of women expected not to have to worry about money, and then they found themselves alone with children.
Yes.
And this is as a result either of divorce or of widowhood or, whatever, and struggling
Right.
because, the expectation wasn't that they were going to pursue a high income career, or even if
Yes.
they did, that they were going to be the ones to budget, to invest, to, direct their money in a certain way.
hmm I look back at history, right? And I
Yep.
obviously I was a little girl when this happened, but for individuals who may be listening, who are maybe 40, 30, you don't realize that it wasn't until 1974 that women were actually able to and given the right to open a bank account when the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was passed.
I
It-
know. Isn't that amazing
it's-
to think
I was
about?
alive. I was alive, and
I
women
was
were
too.
not allowed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have that. And
Yep.
again, many women still refuse to many banks refuse women to have them open a bank account without their father or their husband. And I
Yeah.
think that
It's
this
crazy.
is
Yeah.
something that, again, like you talked about, is generational. That
Yeah.
a lot of the fears and securities, they're not just passed on in the belief system, but they're also passed on through epigenetics, through the DNA that was passed
Yeah.
on from our mothers.
Right.
You
Yes.
talked
So true.
about Deborah, and I want to unpack this a little bit too, because you said that um, this is not uncommon to you as well.
No,
And you said that you've made money mistakes. Can we
sure have.
normalize a little bit? What are some of the common mistakes maybe you or other women have done and have fallen into?
Sure. So I am a single mom. I'm a single mom by choice. My kids are now in their 20s, but when they were little and I was raising them and really, told myself that I had brain width only for my kids and my business,
Mhm.
I ignored everything else. So I wasn't saving money like I should have.
Yeah.
And the money that I saved, I wasn't investing like I should
Mhm.
have. I paid a lot of late fees, not because I didn't have the money, but because I let the bills pile up and said, oh, I'll get to that later, 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 later. I didn't have a system in place for tracking my spending. A few times I was very intentional for short periods of time. Like, for example, when I wanted to buy my house, which was a lot easier back then than it
Yes.
is today, given prices and all of that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's huge.
but
That's huge.
yeah, so, I did it by myself. So I had to figure out how to save up the down payment and all of that. And so I was very intentional for a while, but then,
Mhm.
not so much. And so those were for me kind of the major missteps, getting into some debt that I probably shouldn't have gotten into. Um, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, some debt, we most of us need a mortgage. Most of us don't
Mhm.
have the cash to buy a
Right.
house.
Right.
That's fine, as long as you don't buy a house that's too much for your wallet to handle.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
see that a lot right now, though,
yeah,
Deborah. I see, well, first of all, during the pandemic, we actually had a couple of people come, realtors ask if we wanted to sell our house. And we thought, where are we going to go? And we don't want to get it, and people are getting into these major debt for a
yeah.
house that, um, they could lose very easily.
Well, one of the problems is again when there isn't much financial education. We live in a very consumer based culture. This
Mhm.
is not to shame anybody or to say,
Yeah.
anybody's doing anything wrong.
Right.
It's that we're just given these messages
Mhm.
over and over and over and over again.
Mm.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
our peers, if you don't have a nice car, if your home isn't of a certain standard, if you're not going on, certain kinds of
Yes.
vacations, if I
Mhm.
mean, if this is what everybody that you associate with is doing, it's super hard to say, I'm I'm gonna drive a 12-year-old Honda or Toyota.
Mhm.
I'm going to pay cash for it. And I'm because I want to put my money somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that
Mhm.
when you move with a crowd that does not do that.
Yeah.
And many of us do. And even if you don't move with a crowd that does not do that, you're living in a society where the messages coming on social media, coming on television, coming from everywhere are buy, 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 buy.
That's right.
Spend money, spend money, spend money, spend money. You're not a successful adult if you're not spending money here, there, and everywhere.
Well, I'm hearing you talk about that, and I think that I look even at our situation. We we really we need a car. We need a second car, and we haven't done that because we think, well, I'm not really going anywhere, right? And we can kind of we invested a lot of money into our business when we started, and really now my goal is to try to get that debt paid off. So
That's
I don't
that's
want to
good
buy another
debt.
car. I don't want to buy another car until I can get rid of other debt, right? And I
Yeah, I
think that
mean,
this is the mentality that I'm in now, but it didn't come easy.
yeah, that is really wise. And one of
Mhm.
the things that I suggest my coaching clients do is if they know the car is getting old and
Mhm.
they know that in the next few years, it's likely that they're going to need a car. Now, I do say it's almost always cheaper to repair a car than to buy a new car.
Mhm.
So even if you get hit with a big repair bill for an
Mhm.
older car, as long as you can make it last another couple of years, it's almost always
Almost
cheaper to repair.
100%, a hundred
So,
percent.
yeah. But let's say you're looking at buying either a new or a new for you car.
Mhm.
I have people create a savings bucket and
Mhm.
start right now to put, however much
Right.
each person's different. So there's no one magic amount. Each person's
Mhm.
situation is different, but
Yeah.
just create a dedicated savings account or a dedicated bucket within your savings account if your bank allows you to do that. A lot
Mhm.
of the online banks allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And just put money in there every month as
Yeah.
if you're making a car payment.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
so good.
when the time comes where you need to make that purchase, boom, you can either, pay cash for an older car if that's what you want to do, or you
Mhm.
have the money to put towards a down payment and you can have a much smaller debt to pay off. Listen, I see clients with like $800 monthly car payments.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I know. And I
That's a
say,
lot. That's a
and
lot.
I say to them, listen, if
Mhm.
you love cars, if you were the kind of person who collected the little Matchbox cars from when you were little and you know everything about the engines and you like eyes light up when you see a certain kind of car and cars are your thing, by all means, direct your money towards a fancy car
Right,
if
right.
that's your jam. But
Mhm.
if you are buying that car because, well, everybody needs a car with, that kind of car payment, then
Mm.
maybe think again, what is more important to
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
What lights you up? What is it
yeah.
you really want to do? And we'll direct the money towards that
Mhm.
rather than towards the car
Yeah.
payment.
And the other thing that I look back and I want to say that this was sort of a a good decision on our part. When I moved to Connecticut from New York City, and I married my husband, he had bought this home where we lived before we got married, and I thought, well, I like it, but I really want to be near the action. I want to move to this other town because there's more restaurants or walkable. It's more my speed, and for the first couple, maybe 3, 4 years. I wanted to find just the right house and I wanted to in the right neighborhood with everything. And the more that we looked, the more that I realized that, wait a minute, um, we're going to have to not only invest in a more expensive house, our house is going to be paid off soon. And now we're going to have to renovate that house to kind of suit our needs because
Right,
in our house is kind of the way we want it and like it.
right.
And I think, no, I'd rather pay off the house and have the money to travel. But I think that
There you
that,
go.
that was something that I would say young Julie wouldn't have
Right.
never thought of.
And you
And
can think of it in all different sorts of ways. Like,
yeah,
how long does it take you to get to where the action is? Like,
not that long,
yeah, I mean, if
not
it's
that
not
long.
that long,
Nope.
then,
And that's,
where
yeah.
you are makes a
That's the
lot of
choice we
sense.
made, and that's the choice we
Yeah.
made. So I'm so grateful because I think that there was so much um I would say even like peace, especially when I got laid off and we launched the business. The reason we were able to do that is because we were not committed to
Yep.
hundreds and thousands of dollars in
Yep.
car payments, house payments, and things
That's
that
right.
a lot of times, like I think we have friends that have bought beautiful homes and have gorgeous homes, and yet they're really committed. And some of them are empty nesters now and have these huge homes. It's just the two
Right.
of them. But
Right.
I guess it's definitely the journey that everybody is on. And I think that this is why it's important to be able to get clarity in
Yep.
what you're looking for your life, correct?
That is the very first thing that I do with my clients is
Mhm.
we really dig deep into values, goals, where would you like to be? Asking questions like if you were financially independent, if somebody dropped millions of dollars on you and you never had to worry about money again, what
Mhm.
would you be doing with your life? um, and like really thinking about purpose and meaning and all of those things that most financial professionals, it's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It
Yeah.
is about that, but it's not just about that. I mean, we have
Mhm.
to direct those numbers on a spreadsheet to
Yeah.
make life livable and joyful.
Mm.
And you have to get livable first before you can. Although we even while we're getting to there, we want to at least
Yeah.
have some joy. Um, but like, what do you really want? Not what your parents want for
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
not what your adult children think you should want, not what all your friends want, not what society says you should want. If it's travel, fabulous. That's what it comes down to after all that digging, and you want to see the world, great. Let's
Mhm.
look at what is easy to let go of, what's a little bit less easy to let go of, and compare to what's more important. And let's flow some money towards that travel fund.
Mm. I
Figure out
like
how
it.
to do it.
I like it. I'm a woman of a certain age as most of my friends are. And of course, I'm straddling this generation in which I am not just dealing with my own finances, but my mom is elderly. My mom is definitely getting up there. And she did not save enough in some ways
Yeah.
for where she is. But we, as individuals that are 50 over, are starting to look at, okay, what's our next chapter of retirement? And for me, I have to say, I don't look at retirement. I really feel that I love what I am doing. I could see myself continuing to do that. But at the same time, I know that some people wanna shift, right? Wanna retire. Maybe they don't want to teach forever. They don't want to be an accountant forever, whatever it is. But maybe individuals haven't saved enough.
Yep.
Is there hope for individuals
Yes,
who are in
there
that boat?
is.
And
Yes,
what
there
can we
is.
do? Because I know that this is the area in which you excel. Tell me
Yeah,
a little bit more about how people can sort of
sure.
make up for not saving enough when they're 20s. Maybe they were out, partying too much and forgot to save.
Sure. Sure. So, first of all, I work with people of all ages, but I would say the majority, more than half of my clients are people exactly as you described,
Mm,
55 and up, in that phase of life, maybe where they've got aging parents, they're still in some ways maybe supporting kids, or the kids are soon to become empty nesters. And they're saying, oh, crap. I did not pay enough attention to this. I didn't put enough aside. What do I do now? And I will send you so you can put in the show notes. Just started. I didn't think about this before. I just started a Facebook group exactly for that, for people who want to live well in this next phase of life on limited resources.
Mm,
So I can send you the link to that.
that'd be
So
great.
there are a lot of things that people can do.
Hmm.
First of all, you really have to face the situation. It's very easy to put your head in the sand
Hmm.
and not face that your money's basically running out. Maybe have a little trickle from Social Security or,
Hmm.
from whatever, but facing the situation and really getting a clear understanding of where you stand is number one.
Hmm.
Number two is thinking about the big expenses like housing.
Right.
So many of us feel very attached to the houses we raised our kids in or the
Mm,
houses where we lived for a long time.
yeah.
And the question is there a more financially feasible way to have a wonderful next phase of life um,
Mm,
that either includes or does not include that house? So let's
yeah.
look at the whole thing. If it
Hmm.
doesn't include that house, and maybe you have a good chunk of equity in the house, maybe it means downsizing. Maybe it means moving to a lower cost of living area. Some
Hmm.
people who are adventurous even move, if they're American, they even move out of the United States
We're
because,
looking at Italy, Deborah.
oh, what a wonderful place that would be to live, wouldn't it?
Yes, we've been, and one of the things that we're looking at is we want to travel and have adventures, and that really has appealed to us because we think we can
Yes.
save a lot of money.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing some people can do if they own their home is consider a reverse mortgage. Now, these
Mm.
have bad reps.
Mhm.
People have the old idea of what a reverse mortgage is. Oh, I'm going to lose my house. So if I get to a certain point in the reverse mortgage, I'm going to be out on the street. And that's just not true anymore.
Okay.
So it's not for everybody, but
Mhm.
it is an option for some to
Mm.
allow people to stay in their house. So that's another thing people can
Okay.
can consider.
Okay.
Another thing is if you have a big house, do you have a place in the house where you can rent out a room or two?
There you go.
That helps, pay the expenses.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there are many sort of creative ways of thinking about the big expenses like housing. So that's one thing. I mean, if somebody really has no money at all, then it's looking at subsidized housing for older people. The wait lists are years and years long. So it's,
Yeah.
getting on the lists early.
Oh,
But, if
absolutely.
you have some resources,
Yeah.
you can start thinking creatively. So that's just one of many things. I mean, the other thing is really maybe for the first time is creating a budget and a spending plan. You know, maybe it's to start spending money in a way that will make your life work. And that will require some difficult choices. But again, we look at
Mhm.
two things. What do you really need? Because there's some expenses like
Yep.
medical expenses that you must
Right.
spend. They don't necessarily spark joy, but you need to
Mhm.
spend them. And
Yep.
the other is what expenses really bring value to your life? What do you love? The Marie Kondo thing, what
Yep.
sparks joy?
Oh,
And
100%.
yeah, and if you can figure out sort of a hierarchy of what brings you the most joy and figure that out, then you can flow your spending towards those things. And then the next question we ask is, okay, you know which expenses are necessary and which ones bring joy. Is
Mhm.
there a way to get the same value for less money?
Mm.
So, for
Okay.
example, I love to travel and I also love a good bargain. So, and I love animals.
Oh,
So, when I
okay.
travel, I joined this. There's a website.
Pet sitters?
It's called Trusted House Sitters.
Yes, that's it. That's it. I
TrustedHouseSitters.com.
I want to join that. Tell me more about that because I know a
Yeah, I love
friend
it.
that he used them and I
Yeah.
am like, is this for real?
It's totally for real. Now, I have no financial relationship with them at
Mhm.
all, but I recommend them to everybody because I love it. I love it. So
Hey,
it costs like $180 a year or something. So there's an initial investment. Then you
okay.
make a profile and then you start looking for house sits all around the world. Let me
Mm.
tell you about some of the ones I did. I
Please.
stayed in Pacific Heights in San Francisco.
Wow.
Gorgeous neighborhood, gorgeous condominium, taking care of the sweetest dog ever for a week
Oh,
for free
for free. Yeah.
other
Amazing.
than the 180 annual fee. I've stayed in
Right.
New York City. I took a vacation in Maine.
Mm.
And on the other hand, if you have pets and you want to save money on the boarding costs and you're
Yes.
willing to have somebody come stay in your home, you can put, you know,
Yeah.
pictures of your house and your pet and all of that, the water your plants, and you vet them. Trusted house sitters vets people. They do background checks and all of that. And then you look at the reviews and you can have somebody come stay in your house and take care of your dog or cat. And
Mhm.
it's just a great way to travel for free or
Well,
to
I'm
save
loving
money on
this.
boarding.
I'm
Yeah,
loving this. And I think that, this is the one thing when it comes to money, right? Our brain immediately goes to the I can't or that scarcity. But when the reality is that there's so much that we can do to be
there is.
creative, to think
Yeah,
outside of the box.
yeah.
I learned of trusted house sitters from a friend of mine. He and his partner went to Paris
Hmm.
for 2 weeks and stayed at this gorgeous home, and again, they didn't pay to stay there. All they did is feed the cat.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, you know? And so you have to
Amazing.
like animals,
Right, of
all of
course.
all of that. But really they're all over the world.
Mhm.
And the more flexible you are in terms of like your dates and things like that, the better.
Yeah.
But, that's just one of many possibilities for creating the life that you want
Mhm. Yeah.
without that sort of knee jerk reaction of, I could never do that because I don't have the money.
Right. Absolutely. I love that you're redefining for us and you're giving us some really great tips because the reality is sometimes we need to change our paradigm and sometimes we
That's
need
right.
to really think and this is why I want to encourage individuals, working with a coach, working with someone that again, Deborah has kind of been in this journey and she's so much willing to share her experiences, but her expertise. Because the reality is that money is not going to go away. We have to learn to build it. We have to learn to work with it. We have to learn to save it and budget because that can really help us to live a more confident life without a lot of the stress that obviously comes from money, whether we're not having enough or thinking that, we're not going to be okay. Money tends to put us into that fight or flight response for so many of us. So I think that these are great tips, Deborah.
Absolutely. Money is emotional. We all come with stories about money from our childhood. We all come with, our own experiences. And, as I sort of implied before, I was terrified of money
Yeah.
earlier in life. And then,
Mm.
got to a point where my kids got a little older, a little space opened up in my life. And I
Mhm.
just like, I have to face this. I really have to make some changes. So, I started reading all the books and listening to all the podcasts and taking classes and really surprised myself that I loved it so much. So
Yeah.
I learned absolutely everything I could and, got this idea. This is how I want to help people.
Mhm.
And I really wish that I had had a financial coach because, often
Yeah.
we need somebody to keep us accountable, to show us the way. Can you find this information on your own? Yes.
Mhm.
Is it a much longer, harder journey?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And, thank you for saying that because I think that this is a lot of the things that I see. We live in an information age.
Right.
Information is there. You want to
Right.
learn something, you can find a way.
Right.
However, this is exactly what happens. as a coach too.
Yep,
For someone who is building a business, you can figure it out. You can
yep,
take a course. But
right.
when you work with someone that can walk you through and be there, you're learning, you're paying for the solutions that they
That's right.
have, and you're paying for the cost and the time that it will take you. And you're getting the bonus of the support of someone who's on your corner and can help you
What
and cheer
yeah.
you on.
What you're doing is you're accelerating your success.
Mhm. Yeah.
It takes a lot longer. You make a lot more false starts.
Hmm.
It's just harder than when you have, think of an athletic coach. An athletic
Absolutely.
coach helps somebody to learn the skills, to
Hmm.
implement the workouts, the training system,
Yeah.
to analyze where they're, maybe not as successful and to make some changes, to cheer them on when they do have success, and to hold people accountable for, implementing and for doing what they want to do and for creating the results that they want to create.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to be able to, number one, and you mentioned this, go back and really see what's important to you, see what matters, and then start to create a plan, and then say, without emotion, because it really has to be a neutral place where you're not beating yourself up, where you're not defining or feeling the shame. There's a lot of emotion, like we've talked, that comes
Yeah,
with money, but you can say, hey, I'm a beginner at this money thing, or I need someone to guide me through so that I don't make the same mistakes again.
that's right.
And it
That's
doesn't
right.
define you as a bad person. It just defines you as a person that didn't have all of the tools, all the information. We would not, tell someone they were terrible because they weren't wearing glasses to read something,
That's
right?
right.
Maybe you just need the right tools, which could be your glasses, could be a money coach. Where do people really go wrong when managing their money?
Well, I think the biggest mistake that I see over and over again is based in fear. And
Mm,
that's just ignoring it.
yeah.
Like just ignoring it, not taking action.
Mhm.
Money comes in, oh, like I pay my bills and then I spend. And if I don't have enough, I go to the credit card and I'll worry about that later. And not being intentional, I really
Yeah.
think is the biggest mistake. It can really,
Mhm.
I mean, especially for people who are older, because when you're 25 or 30 and you make those kind of mistakes
Yeah.
and you course correct, you have a lot of time to
Mhm.
build up your finances,
Right.
to, set things right. When you get older, you don't. So you really
Mm.
have to take some other kinds of actions. And ignoring it when you're older is like a harder thing to overcome than ignoring it when you're younger. Not
Yeah.
impossible
Not
by any
impossible. Yeah.
means, by any means, but just harder.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm so enthralled with the idea of really being able to define what our story is going to be like. And I think that for many of us who have struggled with money and then made mistakes, we think that all hope is lost. What do you say to
Mhm.
someone that maybe is feeling like that?
Well, you would not believe the number of people that I speak with who have that exact story. And how I
Really?
hear it often is, I'm not good with money. I've never been good with money. And it's a fact. It's like
Right.
solid fact that will never change in
Mhm.
somebody's mind.
Wow.
So I say, okay, let's look at what does that mean? Not good with money. And then we
Mm,
start taking baby steps, just
mm.
little actions. I know you're I think it's
Tiny
Tiny
habits coach. Yeah.
Habits
Yeah.
coach.
I love that you're
Uh,
talking tiny actions. My
yeah,
favorite.
it's just, start with something really small and just
Mhm,
do that one thing. And then that can grow into
mhm.
something else. And it's, so I work a lot with people on changing the story. Now, I often hear this from people who fall in one of two kinds of categories. One is they're creatives. So artists, musicians, things like
Mhm.
that. And so therefore their definition of being creative is I can't be good with money. I can't focus on money because I'm a creative. Also people who are helpers,
Mm.
social workers, nurses,
Yeah.
people who help, moms, stay-at-home moms who now find themselves
Mhm.
divorced and have, for the first time, have
Yeah.
to handle the finances.
Mhm.
How can I do this?
Mm.
And I just want to tell you, if you recognize yourself in that, there is so much hope. You absolutely can master this. You absolutely can handle this. You just have to take the first
Mm.
step.
Yeah. I think that, there is hope. And I love that you believe and have seen the reality that people can recreate. The first thing that sometimes we do is we believe that it happens for somebody else, but that can never happen for me. But I want to encourage individuals that are listening that they can start to envision what does it look like when if you are that person, right? I am a person that saves. I am a person that is has a budget. I am a person, right? And begin to create that identity and then work backwards and ask yourself, what does that look like on a daily basis? Maybe I'm not the person that goes and spends on random things. Maybe I'm the person that cancels some of those memberships that go in and we get charged into our credit card every month, right? With because we don't realize everything in our lives really begins with awareness. Everything really has to
Absolutely.
start with, being open and
Yep.
seeing. What are some of the ways that people can leverage what you offer? How do you help individuals? At what level of support can people expect to see from you?
Yes. So I always offer a free consult. So if
Mm.
somebody wants to get in touch with me and just talk about what they're worried about and what their situation is, we can see if they're a good match for coaching. And if they're not, I can refer them to lots of other professionals in my network. Then there are basically two levels of coaching. One is a 90-minute, what I call a clarity session. It's a one-time
Okay.
where I give you some, worksheets to fill out beforehand, and then we just get a real clear idea in the session of where you are, very basic beginning of like where you want to go. And we create a super initial budget format. We
Mm.
cannot solve the world's problems in
No.
90 minutes. We
No.
can certainly get started. And then some people want to go and take it on their own, and other people want to transition into my 10 session program, which is very deep dive into your finances.
Mhm.
We create a spending plan based on your goals and values. I'll set you up with a system that makes sense for your life,
Mhm.
hold you accountable, both encourage and hold you accountable for, keeping up with that system. We
Mhm.
make it as easy as possible. We'll look at anything that is of importance to you, whether that's paying down debt, building up saving for something in particular, just feeling safe and secure. And then we talk about whatever else is individual to your needs. Maybe it's improving your credit. So we'll
Mhm.
do work on that. Maybe it's, communicating better with your partner about money. So we'll
Yeah.
work on that. We do all of that, and I am not a therapist,
Mhm.
but a part of what I do is sort of a form of life coaching because, as we have said many times, money is emotional,
Yeah.
and so we work through some of those emotions around
Mhm.
money as well. I also offer classes, mostly
Mhm.
for young adults. It's a great graduation
Yeah.
gift if you have,
Ooh, I love that idea.
graduating senior from college or a young adult first out in the
Mm.
workplace. And so those are offered at custom times. You let me know like what works for your kid, and particularly if you can put together a group of three or more, then I can create. It's live online.
Mhm.
They're fun. They're interactive.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
love it.
that's about it. Yeah.
And now did I see correctly that also organizations can partner
Yes.
with you?
Yes.
That would be great too, right? If
Yes. So
someone is listening?
yes, I do financial wellness workshops. I've done them all over the country, some in person and mostly online. But I can do either. And again, I, they're fun. And they're it's not just like blah, blah, blah. Here's the
Mhm.
information. Let me open up your head and pour it in. And we play games and we have a good time. And the topics, I have sort of a stable of topics all set to go. And then I can also create custom workshops for the needs of your particular group.
Very fun, very fun.
Yeah.
I love all the different options that people can leverage your expertise, specifically because again, there is no one season that we are going to work with money. Money is going to be a part of our journey. So why not have the right tools and support and
Yep.
knowledge to help you
Yes.
navigate and leverage the tool because that's what money is a tool.
That's right.
Deborah, this is so fun. I really have learned so much, and I'm so glad that you have this expertise that others who are listening can definitely leverage. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
So, excuse me. um, two ways. Shoot me an email. It's
Mhm.
Deborah, Debra, at moneysmartforlife.com and through my website. And there are ways you'll see on my website ways of connecting with me. So the website is moneysmartforlife.com.
I love it. And we're going to have all the information in the show notes. And by the way, my friends, Deborah has an ebook, Small Steps, Big Changes, that lays out simple actions you can take each month for 1 year, leading to significant positive change in your personal finances. Get it now. So, we're going to have the information in the show notes. Please make sure that you click on it. This is a wonderful, wonderful tool for yourself. If you are listening to the show, and you know someone that may be able to benefit, make sure that you send them the link for them to also download it. Don't download it and send it to them. Make sure that you send them the link because this way they can get that support and they get to know Deborah as well in the process. So I am just so thrilled that you're here. You're going to have to come back and have more chats about this. Thank you for normalizing for us that, again, there's hope for us and that we can continue to live confidently with just taking the first step, and that may be really being smart about our money.
Well, thank you so much. This has really been wonderful. It's been great talking to you.
No, you are amazing, Deborah. Thank you so much for the
Oh,
work that you do. Don't forget, my friends and Deborah, go confidently in the direction of your dreams, everyone.
thank you. Thank you, Julia.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.